Okay, we should be live now. I think we're good. Hi, everybody. Jessica Thomas here, coming at you from Baby Vibe with my good friend Kalee Maloney. Today on the Baby Babble series, we are talking about parenting, and this one I'm really excited about. I think it's really, really important for our generation, especially to just open up a conversation about. I'm a strong believer that there's no right or wrong in parenting. I think that it's all about the connection and the understanding between you and your child. So this episode, I guess you could call it, is called Parenting, Observation, and Divine Guidance. And I was just telling Kalee that I feel like I channeled that title through her because she's just such a grounded individual, and I've learned a lot just from truly like my spying on you through Instagram, I call it. Kalee and I met at Bikram Yoga in Grandview, where she's a teacher, and I will get into that. I have her bio up here. But we met at Bikram Yoga, and she is a wonderful teacher. She you'll hear in a minute, but she has this soothing voice that is just so perfect for the practice. But I just admired you from the moment I met you, and you were very pregnant at the time, and you already had a son, Lou. Yeah. So I've just really admired you and your lifestyle and your teachings from the moment we met. So I'm very, very honored and grateful to have this opportunity to connect with you and talk with you and to share you with the people that I know as well. So welcome, Kalee. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So I'm going to read a little bit of your bio. I know it's, I like to give at least a little bit of an intro.
Sure.
So I'm just going to read right off of my little phone here. But Kalee started practicing Bikram yoga in Louisville, Kentucky in 2009. After getting married that fall and moving to Austin, Texas, she continued to strengthen her practice daily and fell in love with yoga. A rigorous full body workout and a disciplined meditative focus on inner stillness. Living a life of constant travel alongside her husband, Matt, a former professional baseball player, gave her the opportunity to practice and teach in many Bikram yoga studios around the country, including San Diego, Los Angeles, Phoenix, St. Louis, Chicago, Columbus, Cleveland, Minneapolis, Cincinnati, Seattle, Fort Myers, Naples, New York City, Indianapolis. And to stay calm, collected, and focused in the midst of the crazy baseball lifestyle where change is constant and can come at any time. That's a lot of cities.
Yeah.
Were those all just really short term?
Yeah. Just, he would go on the road and play.
City?
Yeah. And the Bikram yoga community is really welcoming of traveling teachers. So if you're like, hey, I'm going to be in town for 2 days, can I teach a class? They'll try to get you on the schedule. So I was really lucky to be able to do that.
That's amazing. So now you're back in Granville, Granville, Ohio, and you're there with your husband, Matt, your son, Lou, and your newest son, River.
Yes.
So just give me a little intro about where your life is right now. What's going on for you?
Well, Reed, people call him River. We call him River. His first name's Reed, so you'll hear me say River. He was born October 1st, so we're just, he's 3.5 months, getting into a little rhythm with him, I feel like.
Yeah.
And my husband doesn't play anymore, but but he scouts now. He's a professional scout, so his down season is the fall and the winter, which means he's not on in the coming months, he'll be on the road for 6 months. He'll be home, but mostly on the road. So we kind of planned to have our second baby when he'd be home most of the time, so we could, have that extra help around the house. And because 1 to 2 is such a big jump. He's just starting to get busy again. And like I said, we've kind of working with Reed's rhythm and his sleeping and napping, and then Lou, Lou turns 3 this month, so wow, that's a whole nother big fun adjustment and adventure. So we're just trying to keep it as connected as we can, reading both of their cues and working with them to kind of keep life as easy of a flow as possible.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. What a transition, you feel like you get in the groove of something and you're really connected, and then life grows and grows and grows.
Yeah.
Yes. And that brings me, I have a question, but I'm going to leave it to the end about the transition of one baby to two, but that sparked that in my mind. But I think I have some things written down, so let me see where a good place to start is. I guess, like I was kind of saying in the beginning, the importance of this conversation for me is, I think that we're from a generation, and tell me if you relate to this or not, we're from a generation of parents that are just because I said so's. That was like the way that I was taught, and I think a lot of my friends and I think our generation was kind of because I said so, and that was just kind of our understanding of, okay, well, this is my parents said so, so that's why I have to do this, without understanding behavior or communication or anything like that. And I know that there has been a lot of controversy in the parenting world the last several years. I mean, I think it's always been there, but I think it's being talked about a little bit more, and I think it's kind of shifting back to the old paradigms somewhat. But I feel like I don't think it's a right or wrong in parenting when it comes to approaches or styles or whatnot. I think that it's truly about understanding your child and the connection with your child. And
Right.
so that leads me to my first question about, what was your approach before giving birth to Lou? Did you do a lot of reading and have a specific plan of what you thought you were going to do? Or did you go in just simply open-minded, saying, you know what, I'm just going to let him guide me? What was your approach?
So I think my approach really, if I want to back up a little bit before I talk about actual parenting, is really rooted in my strong spiritual connection with all living things.
Yes.
And that, just spiritual growth in general comes a lot from my mother. My mother is very spiritual and helped me in so many ways. Not so much by directing, but just by being who she was, and seeing the books she read and the things she had hanging around the house, and the way she parented, got me really into that space of, okay, yeah, life is about you meet people, you do your job, you find a career you love, you have a family, but also it's, this experience that you're choosing to have with these people that you've, chosen, perhaps. I know this is maybe sound kind of wild, but before you were even born, like, okay, I'm going to teach you this lesson and you're going to teach me this lesson. And it's not always going to be comfortable. And sometimes it's going to be really, really hard, but remember that we've come to that agreement, And so, that's how I look at parenting. Okay, we chose each other, and you're probably going to teach me some things about myself that either need to shift and will help me evolve and grow in my spiritual journey. Or you're going to teach me some things that I need to let go of, that are not serving me anymore. And so that, as just a general way that I live my life. So, thinking about it in that direction, I've always viewed parenting as more of the child is the teacher. And I don't say that as I'm not being naive. I know children need direction, but
absolutely.
really making sure that you're mindful and conscious, and you've slowed down the pace of your life enough to let them explore, to give them a lot of yes space, and let them kind of pick what interests them, and connect with nature. I mean, if you watch our Insta stories, that's a huge thing for us. Like, nature is huge. I mean, that is for us the divine, the spiritual connection. So, but one of the resources that I used once I was pregnant and, was in that mindset was, and I pulled up my books here, is Janet Lansbury. And if you don't,
I love her.
Yeah, this is her toddler book.
Okay.
And this is her, this is what I would say, read before you have a kid. Because it's so beautiful. It's, respectful parenting.
Respectful. That's how I see it
goes by
too.
Magda Gerber's model of caretaking. And it's it's beautiful. It's you're treating your children, your baby from the very beginning like a human, you know. And I think
Yes.
oftentimes we don't do that.
We don't
It's
give them
not, yeah,
permission to be
it's not
an
that white
individual.
spread. We think it's just this little blob who doesn't, you know, can't think, can't, you know, and we're just going through the motions, changing diapers, and if you know, step back and kind of use some of her um, advice, it's really powerful. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
powerful. So she has an Instagram, she has a Facebook page. She's always posting articles on Facebook, and the articles really are straight out of this book.
And that's all I've read are the articles on Facebook. I haven't read the books yet, but I
think
everything she
honestly, I
says
think that
resonates.
her articles are just from her book. So
Really?
yeah, they
Okay.
are. They're really profound. I mean, they're really
Yes.
insightful, and you think, and then you start trying, you know, the things that she talks about, and you're like, okay, this is really amazing, and I feel
Yeah.
really connected, and I'm noticing a difference. You know what I mean? I'm noticing a difference in my
Yes.
child's behavior just because I'm coming into it with that really I respect you as a human, not you're just a baby, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That resonates with me on such a deep level, and I've learned so much just from the articles that she posts on Facebook, and I agree. I feel like it's kind of a misconception that the more you're on your baby and directing your baby, the more they'll learn. But really, the more you, for lack of a better term, disconnect, the more you connect.
Right.
That's how I see it. And it's almost like this, you're giving your child permission by acknowledging that they're their own separate human being. You're giving them
Right.
permission to have their own feelings and to have their own thoughts and, you know, actions and explore, like you were saying. I love that you guys go in nature all the time, even in the thick of the snow. I mean, it's so beautiful,
Yeah.
so beautiful. And I can see how, I mean, your son loves that. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just always, you know, on his own little adventure. What a
Yeah.
gift he has from, you
Yeah.
know, your yard and those trails that you go on. But I totally agree with that. That takes me to a couple of different, I don't even know where to go next, because I think the resources are really important, just to kind of highlight, you know, where you can find this information, because I don't think a lot of people, I think there's a lack of awareness of how they're parenting. You know,
Yes.
when I say that I'm from a generation of because I said so parents, that's not to say that my parents were bad parents. You know, I think my parents were great parents, and were doing what they knew and felt and thought.
Right.
The best that they could. Yes, there could have been a lot of resources. There could have been none. I don't really know. But I feel like it comes down to the understanding and the connection. And I think in our society as a whole, just the human beings in general, I think we're very disconnected. I think we're on technology too much. I think I could go on and on about how we're very self-consumed, and you know, the role of 8 to
too
5,
many
9 to 5
activities, too many, not enough, just, you know, free space.
Flow, yes.
And for kids, free play. You know what
Yes.
I mean? Like, no, we don't have any, you know, we don't do, Lou is gonna turn 3. We don't do really a lot of play dates. He's not in school. And that's purposeful. That's purposeful because I want most of his days to be spent at home in a pretty, you know, predictable routine, so that he kind of gets, you know, that's how they start to really feel that safe, secure, grounded, and groundedness. And then also gives them, and we until the past 3 months, really, we've been screen free. We didn't do TV at all. Like we made that commitment. Now, throwing another baby in the mix has changed things a little bit. You know, we've here and there let him watch a little bit here and there, which is opening up a whole can of worms. Which is another way that our generation and their children can become really disconnected, is screen. You know what I mean? I notice such a difference now.
Especially when you turn
in Lou's behavior.
Off.
Yeah, if he's been, you know, watching more stuff, like, I mean, just zoned out, glued to it, not, you know, harder to get him to step away and go play with, go create something, or,
Yeah.
go outside and explore. It makes it a little more difficult because of all the
Yeah.
screens, not just TV, all the screens.
All the screens. Yeah. I mean, they see us on our phones.
Right.
Even if we're working, checking on email or something, they still see us glued to the screen. It's behavior that they want to mimic and they want
Right.
to touch and they want to
Right.
do what we're doing. But it's difficult. I mean, Shane's only 18 months, and we did 0 screen time for the first year, and then she was expressing health in a pretty major way around, I think it was right after she turned a year old. And I was like, I'm just going to put Moana on. Maybe she'll just be still with me, And
Yeah.
it's kind of stupid because that's the one time that she does want to be still with me. She didn't need a screen to slow her down.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just something I did. It was a choice I made, and we're a little bit more loose about it. I mean, Zach and I, my husband and I, don't really watch a lot of TV as is. We will, on the weekends if we're just around. But there is a huge difference in her behavior, even after just the very first time.
Right.
Not only in that moment, especially in that moment, though, like when you turn it off and then her mind just can't catch up.
Right.
It's just going and going and going. She's not eye to eye with me anymore. It's a major behavioral change that I saw pretty instantly, and it scared me enough to say, oh, maybe that wasn't a good idea,
Yeah. This is just addicting as, caffeine or cocaine.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like
the
screens
and there are studies to show that.
Right.
It's very damaging.
You have to make a mindful decision together to try to limit your own screen, in front of your kids. Don't be on, don't be checking your text. Don't be, because that's they notice that too. Do you know what I mean? I can't tell you how many people I'll see out, parents I'll see out, and both Matt and I will look over and just feel sad. They're out to dinner, their kids are there, and both the parents are on their phones, on the screens. Like, and I'm just thinking, have we become so unaware, that we don't even notice that, and what a difference that makes, and how then they crave that attention, you know what I mean? Because you're giving it to the screen all the time. And, that causes a myriad of different issues, with behavior. So
one of the articles that I read recently was about screen time from Janet Lansbury and how it's teaching them not to think. It's teaching them to be still instead of allowing them to explore. It's teaching them to be sedentary and for everything else around them to be moving and flying and exploring. Instead of their physical body actually learning to grab things and feel what a rock feels like, and touch a leaf. And it's the exact opposite of what you want your child to be doing on a physical level, but also on a connective level, just to their surroundings.
Right, exactly.
So I can't get enough of Janet Lansbury. So I'm so glad that was one of your resources.
Yes.
So I've had a lot of people reach out asking me about pretty much the toddler phase. So there's a few questions within one question for you.
Sure.
So the toddler phase, and just how to react better to outbursts or emotion. And also, I want to know what your thoughts are about the phrase terrible twos, and just kind of how do you handle this phase? I know Lou's about to be 3, so what does that look like for you as far as his behavior and...
Sure.
Yeah.
So, we are literally just getting into that, dipping our toes into that water. Lou his year of 2 was amazing. Like, I'm like, I don't know what people are talking about. Like, I don't know. We must just be doing such a good job. Like, he's so sweet, and then they warn you about the second kid being born, and even the first 3 months, 2.5 months of Reed's life, Lou, perfectly great. I mean, no weird outbursts, nothing. It was great. And probably mid-December till now, now we see what they're talking about,
that's a surprise.
I've heard people refer to it as a three-nager, like, because it's the threes.
That sounds better to me than terrible twos, because that's
yeah.
Terrible is a different word.
Yeah, I don't. You could probably guess by just my view on life and parenting. I don't like the word terrible. I don't like the term terrible twos. I don't like referring to them as terrible. Same as
words are powerful.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I certainly wouldn't do it in front of him. But so yeah, let me just preface this and say I am no expert in how to handle the outbursts and all the things that come with this stage of toddlerhood. But I will say again, her resource on toddlers. Okay, let me just hold that still for a second.
Yeah, no bad kids.
It's so powerful, and it's like I said, so profound. Remembering to be, and maybe not even remembering, maybe some people don't even know that toddlerhood is this time where their hormones are going wild, they're learning so much at a super rapid pace, and they can't control their impulses. Do you know what I mean? Like, they may know perfectly well what you said and understand, don't throw that ball, and then they just do it, and that's just the chemicals in their body. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So we try as best we can to keep that in mind. And both Matt and I kind of have made the pact to one another, like, okay, if we're both home and one of us is starting to get really, about to, then tap him on the shoulder, just a nice little tap, and hey, babe, take a breath, because that's kind of the reaction we like to go to instead of reacting. Like, okay, before he threw the ball at the window, before I scream, and I take a really deep breath, and I try not to react, because the research says the more that you react, the bigger the reaction, the more times they will do it, because that's their testing. You know what I mean? They're testing their boundaries. And if you just nonchalantly, okay, you threw the ball, I'm going to take the ball. So you take the ball, and then Lou will throw a fit, which is fine. And you let them. That's a really important part of the process is, okay, you're feeling frustrated. Go ahead. You can cry. And I'm gonna kneel on the ground. I'm gonna get on your level. And if you want to give me a hug, you can give me a hug. If you want to go in your room, I'll go with you. Want to pound a pillow, you can pound a pillow, whatever it is. Because their emotions are very real. Like, you don't, I have to remind my husband sometimes, he's a wonderful father, but you can't tell him not to cry or not to whine. Like, that's him, that's those emotions and energy coming up and out, and they need to come up and out, because you don't want to keep them down. You don't want to suppress them inside. So that's a learning experience in getting comfortable being uncomfortable, because listening to your toddler cry is really uncomfortable. Like, whether it's annoying you or frustrating you or making you sad or whatever it is, it's uncomfortable. So the breathing, taking a breath and stepping back and trying to keep in perspective, okay, this is part of their growth, and guess what? It's part of my growth too. You know what I mean? It's teaching me how to stay in that peaceful space, even when it's really a struggle.
It is a struggle, and I joked the other day with Zach, like, I feel like the toddler, because I feel like I don't have these boundaries between her emotions and my emotions.
Yeah.
I feel like when she screams, I feel the urge to scream, and I feel like when she cries, I feel the urge to cry.
Yeah.
And the breath work has really tremendously helped me. I learned through you and through my friend Sarah a lot about just moment, breathing, and that has helped me, and it's actually helped Shane as well. She sees that I'm doing it, and in the very beginning moments of the emotion, she doesn't stop and take a deep breath, but as soon as she's kind of snaps out of it, she notices, and she feels that. But I have a very difficult time separating her emotions from my own. That's where I'm at now, because she's just now starting to kind of express in that way that is not always consolable, or not always able to be acknowledged in the way that she needs it to be acknowledged right away. She's just getting to a state of consciousness where she knows she's her own being. And she knows that she doesn't have to do what mom does. She knows she doesn't have to do what dad does, you know?
Right.
So that's where I'm at right now. And that's kind of I think it's my emotional struggle more than anything of just,
Yeah.
how do I not, when she's like screaming no about something, whether it's, you know, laying down for bed or whatever it may be, I feel this like boiling of energy where I just want to be like, okay, you know,
Yeah.
okay.
And you're going to do that. You're going to do that. And that's going to happen. And the thing that you can do that will connect you guys even more is get on her level. You freak out, right? I've done it. Okay. Lou, I'm really sorry. I lost it right there. I got really frustrated, and that was how I expressed it. And I'm sorry, you know, and do you forgive me? And of course he's like, yeah, I forgive you, you know. And I'll tell you what, Jessica, the great thing about that is, because we practice that a lot, is I'm sorry when we do something that, yeah. And Lou says, I'm sorry a lot, you know, when he
has an outburst.
Yep, I hit you, Mom. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mom. You know, or he likes to grab Reed's hand, and if he pulls too hard, he'll come right back and he'll say, I'm sorry, Reed. You know, so
it's a true testament that they learn
yes,
from so much of your behavior.
Yes. And that's not to say that we don't have the opposite happen too. He's running around saying, "You're really pissing me off." You know?
Yes.
But that's part of it. That's part of it. Yeah.
I think I had a moment like that just recently. It was the first time not the first time that I reacted, but the first time that I said, you know what, I need to go talk to her about that.
Yeah.
Something in me just said, I just knew, like, even though I knew when she was born that she understood me and could hear me and was listening, but just in that one instance a month or so ago, I had this feeling of, you know what, I freaked out. I need to go apologize and tell her, because she was having an outburst, and I was just like, gosh, I can't handle your emotions today, or they're really pissing me off. Like, and I was in the back seat, we're in the car. I was in the back seat because I was literally nursing her like over the car seat. It was just one of those days where, oh my gosh, talk about needing some chest opening. It was just one of those days where it's just easier for me to just get in the back seat and hunch over the back. And so I was stuck in the back seat with her. We were on the freeway. I couldn't get in the front seat. She's like just so emotional, and I was just like, gosh, I just can't handle your emotions anymore. They're really pissing me off. And I said it out loud to my 18-month-old, my 17-month-old at the time. And it was in that same car ride. I looked out the window for maybe like a minute. And I looked back at her and I was like, I am so sorry for the words I used. And I explained to her what I said. And I said, I want you to feel your emotions. I'm here for you to help you navigate your emotions if you need me to. And some people look at that and say, well, that's weird. You don't need to explain that to your child. But you do.
You do. They deserve to know that. Otherwise, they're not. That's the thing. They are intuitive people. They will sense your tension.
Yes.
So if you don't
they'll start
let
to
them
feel
know,
scared to express their emotions.
Right.
And that's a path that no one wants to go down as an adult or a child, but especially a child.
Right. Because you're going to get frustrated and you're going to get angry, and that stuff is inevitable in life. It's important for them to know that you're being honest with them too. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm having a really sad day. So if you're sensing that, that's what it is. And it's nothing to do with you. But that's what's going on. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be some in-depth reason why, but just letting them know so that, like I said, so that just you're connecting on why they might feel that whatever that you're putting off, you know, whatever you're putting out. Yeah,
so important. I'm so happy to be having this conversation. I think that every parent, no matter their approach, has these moments of just like, oh, I just feel like I can't handle it, you know.
Yeah.
But we all have the moments. We all have them, no matter how much of an angel our child is. You know, we all have those moments for sure. One of my questions was, what have you learned from Lou? And I know that's a lot. I know it's a very broad question, and I have to say I do have a very similar perspective and outlook on life. I've always said that Shane chose us and chose me to be her mom, you know. but I guess to wrap up is kind of what have you learned from Lou, and how has parenting, how is your parenting style? You touched on it a little bit, but how has that changed since welcoming Reed into your life?
Um, oh, what have I learned from Lou? Slowness, taking time. Like he just, we always lived in the city, and we moved out of the city when Lou was a year, almost a year, because we realized, and we were living right in German Village, house on top of
Yeah.
house, and we
Yeah.
just realized we wanted space. Like we wanted space, and we wanted nature, and we wanted just a slower pace, close enough to the city where we could still have it when we wanted it, but far enough away that that they could have that childhood. Because I grew up on a farmhouse, nobody around but cornfields, and Matt grew up in the same town, same kind of vibe,
Yeah.
just small town, safe. Anyway, so that was, as hard as it is some days, like I wish I was closer to all the amenities.
Yeah.
Being able to go slower and be out in nature more and feel more connected. I mean, that's helping my growth too. And I know it's tremendous for him. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's why we did it. But really, like I said, teaching me to slow down. Like you don't have to do everything that you want to do in one day. And that's okay, because the things that we're doing are still of value. Even if it's just taking a walk up into the woods, you know what I mean? Or sitting and watching the birds.
Yeah.
And then when Reed came along, I mean, it was a major slowdown. Like, because with one, I could still, go and teach, and it was not a big deal. And, spend all day in the kitchen doing whatever. And then when Reed came, it was a major shift in slowing down, and not only slowing down, but as a mother for at least a few years, you kind of lose your sense of you kind of lose a little bit of your identity. Do you know what I mean? Like, and if you're willing to, if you're willing to slow down and do that, and for me personally, to be the kind of conscious mother that I want to be, and be around, and like I said, have the daily routine and have most of their time at home, I have to take this little step back. You know what I mean? I have to say, okay, I can't be yoga teacher of the year because I need to spend more time at home. You know what I mean? I used to be all over the city and all the different studios, and I knew all the fitness people, and I was a Lululemon ambassador, and just like, it was amazing, and I loved it, and that was me. And
Yeah.
I have to strip down now to the basics. Okay, I can teach 2 classes a week, 3 classes a week, because most of my time needs to be spent at home. And so really zeroing in on what's important.
That's beautiful. And I'm so glad that you're able to do that. I know how valuable it is. I mean, we all have different lifestyles, but I just think that teaching of just simply presence.
Yes.
Just being where you are in that moment, even if you are a working mom 9 to 5, just those
Right.
moments that you do have with your kids, and the moments that you do have alone in your car, whatever it may be, just that presence of just, I can slow down enough to take a few deep breaths and just tell
Right.
myself that I'm here, you know?
Right.
So that's beautiful. I've learned so much from you. I really have. And I know that we haven't been able to connect in person much since, having a baby and being so far apart. We're in Grandview, you're in Granville.
But that's the beautiful thing about social media. I mean,
Yes.
I can knock it enough, but I can also say, hey, it's kept me in contact with some really powerful women, especially, and that is that's awesome.
There's that foundation of support that is there when
Yes.
when you want to open up and access it,
Yeah.
So I'm so fortunate, and I have so much gratitude for you, and for you just sharing your heart with us. I know neither one of us are experts on any of this, but I think just opening the conversation and supporting each other, and just saying, you know what, I've been there and this worked for me. Maybe you can try that. And I love what you're doing. I want to know more about your self-love revolution. I do always blog about my interviews and stuff, and I want to link whatever I can for Bikram and for what you and your friends are doing. But I mean, that's helped me as well. I'm in this I'm finally acknowledging that I have neglected myself. At
Mhm.
first, I acknowledged that I neglected my husband. That was my initial acknowledgement for the last year.
Good
I was
for
like, really,
you.
I was reflecting on many things, and I was like, you know what? Because Zach and I are going through this workbook, and he's like, what can you forgive yourself for 2017? And I was like, I immediately just started crying, and I was like, I can, but I haven't forgiven myself for neglecting you since having shame, you know? And then I was like, oh my God, how, if I can acknowledge that, like, what about me? You
Yeah.
know, I've neglected me too as a mother.
Yeah.
I've just been so focused, you know,
Yeah.
and I know in my mind that I can't care for my family if I'm not caring for myself. But
Right.
there's still just this go, 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 like you were
Right.
saying, that we need
Right.
to rein in.
Right. And it's
Yeah, but
hard to find that balance. It really is.
it is.
So, that's totally part of the self-love is don't don't beat yourself up for not loving yourself because
Yeah,
then you're doing the opposite.
I
You have
know.
to just be really, really gentle. I mean, that's really the key word. Like, okay, maybe I can just take a few more present breaths today to show myself a little love. You know what I mean? And maybe I can just start noticing more. Okay, I fly through this activity. I'm just going to take it slow today. Do you know what I mean? Or I really wanted to do these 5 things on my list. I'm going to do two, and I'm going to be fine with it. I'm going to feel good about it. I'm going to just pat myself on the back and remind myself I'm doing a really good job.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing. Like I said, I've learned so much from Kalee. I'm going to link as much as I can
Sure.
if you're
Yeah.
open to people
Of
having
course.
access to you.
Of
But thank
course.
you so, so much for doing this
Yeah.
with me. It's so
Yeah.
valuable for me. I hope it's valuable I think it's valuable for all moms who
Absolutely.
and parents
Absolutely.
that connect with this. Um, but thank
Thank
you
you for
so
having.
much.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We'll talk soon, and I love you. Thank you for
Love you.
everything.
Thank you, Jessica.
Bye.
Bye.